So today we are solving radical equations. Radical equations are things with roots in them, and we have steps. Step 1, isolate one radical or rational exponent's expression. Step 2, power up. Take both sides of the equation to the power of the root or to the reciprocal of the rational exponent, and these will make more sense when we do one. Solve for x. Careful, it could be a quadratic. And step 4, check for extraneous solutions or no solution. An extraneous solution is a solution that you get, but when you plug it back in, it makes it undefined. Or another way you could say that is it makes it not true. Okay? So when you plug it back into the original, it makes it not true. It's not going to work. Okay? All right, so let's do one, and this will make more sense. So step 1 said isolate the radical. So number 1, is the square root by itself? Well, I guess here's what I mean. Are there any numbers outside of the square root on the left side of the equals? No. Okay, so the square root is by itself as much as we can get it at the moment. Step 2, power up. How do you get rid of a square root? Square, okay? You square both sides. So a couple weeks ago we had squares, and the opposite of square was square root, so they're opposites of each other. So you square both sides. All right, guys, there we go. That's as much as I can zoom it in. Okay, so the square root and the square do what? They cancel each other out. Okay, that's the whole point of squaring both sides. So you're left with 3x plus 4 equals 7 squared, 49, okay? And then step 3, solve for x. So you're just trying to get x by itself. So y'all know how to do this. Subtract 4, which gives you 45. Drop down your 3x. What do you do last? Divide by 3, okay? X equals 15, okay? You have to check your answers on these because they don't always work. This is the one type of function that even if you did all of this correctly, this answer could still not work, okay? So we need to plug it back in. We got to plug it back into the original. So square root 3, what am I putting instead of x? 15. Plus 4, and I'm going to type that in my calculator just like that. So I'm going to do the square root. I'm going to do the square root of 3. Guys, I don't know why this brightness keeps changing. All right, square root of 3 times 15 plus 4, and press enter. Do you get 7? Yes. Okay. So I'll put a little check next to that to know that it works, okay? So that's the answer to that one. Okay, questions? Okay, number 2, let's go back to step 1, isolate one radical. So on number 2, when you draw your line, is the radical by itself? Yes, there's no numbers outside of it. To get rid of the square root, you have to square both sides. Square both sides. All right, this one's a little harder than the last one. So the square root and the square cancel, so I'm left with x plus 7. But this one's a little harder because I have x plus 5 squared, which means I'm going to have to do what? I'm going to have to write it. I have to write it twice. And then do what? The box or FOIL, okay? Some of y'all know how to FOIL, and you're welcome to do that. I'm going to do the box over here to the side, x and 5, x and 5. You're welcome to do FOIL on your own and see if you get the same answer. So x times x, x squared, x times 5, and then 5 times x, and 5 times 5, 25, okay? All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and write this over here. So it's going to be x squared. And you remember, you have to add those. So 5x and 5x is 10x. I'm going to go ahead and write that right here. Plus 25. Okay? All right. We have an x squared and an x. The only way to solve that is to get everything on one side. Okay? To move everything, always move everything towards the x squared. Okay, so wherever the x squared is, I move things towards that. So when you move, this is 1x. When you move it across the line, it becomes negative 1x. And when you move the 7 across the line, it becomes minus 7. Okay, so here's what we got. I'm dropping down the x squared. 10 minus 1 is 9. 25 minus 7, 18. All right, guys, you have two options with these type of problems. You have two options. You can do the A, B, C, and you can do the quadratic formula. That works all the time, okay? You can also do the factor method, which is a little quicker, but not everybody likes it. So x and x. All right, and there's a 1 here. What's 1 times 18? 18. Okay, what are some things that multiply to give you 18? 6 and 3. What else? 2 and 9. That's what a lot of you would have thought of first. All right, so those are things that multiply to give you 18. 6 plus 3 is 9. 2 plus 9 is 11. Which one do I want? The one that gives me 9. Okay, the one that gives me this middle number 9. Okay, so I want the 6 and the 3. Remember, you always have to divide those by the front number, which in this case is just, does that change anything? No, okay. So you get x plus 6, x plus 3. And if you hadn't done enough steps already, if you weren't tired enough, you get to finish the problem. Set both of these equal to 0. X plus 6 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. Some of y'all know how to do this without showing any work, which is fine. You know that plus 6, when you move it to the other side, is going to become negative 6. And you know plus 3, when you move it to the other side, becomes negative 3. Okay? All right. We have to check our answers. Got to check our answers. We're going to use the calculator as much as we can. So, all right, guys, let's check negative 6 first. Let's check negative 6 first. So I'm going to write square root of negative 6. So instead of putting x, what am I putting in? Negative 6 plus 7. But guys, this one has an x on the other side as well. You're not putting in negative 3. We're not working with negative 3 yet. You're still going to plug in the negative 6. So negative 6 plus 5. So plug negative 6 into both spots and let's see what we get. All right, so square root negative 6 plus 7. What do you get? 1. And then on the other side, negative 6 plus 5, you get negative 1. Does 1 equal negative 1? No. Okay. All right. That means negative 6 is an extraneous solution. Okay. Negative 6 is an extraneous solution. You can write extraneous solution. You could just mark it out if you wanted to, but somehow you need to make sure you don't just circle it. You need to make sure you somehow either put extraneous solution or mark it out. All right, let's check negative 3. So I'm going to plug negative 3 in for this x, so negative 3 plus 7. And then I'm plugging negative 3 into the other side as well. All right, type that in your calculator. What do you get for this square root one? 2. What do you get for the other side? All right, does that one work? All right, so that one, you could put a check by it, you could circle it, but somehow you gotta let me know that that's your answer. So you can put a check by it, you can circle it, something, okay? All right, questions? All right, let's do another one. Number 3, any observations about number 3? Anything we need to move? We need to move the -3, okay? Step 1 is to isolate the radical. Step 1 is to isolate the radical. So what I mean by that is you have to get this by itself first. So how do you move the -3 to the other side? You add it. Okay, so we're left with the square root of 2x plus 11 equals 3. So move the 3 first. Okay, move the 3 first. All right, I still have this square root. I need to get rid of it next. How do you get rid of the square root? Square. So 2x plus 11 equals 9. How many x's do we have? Just 1. So we can solve that a lot easier than we had to do the other one. What do I move first? Move the 11. All right, so I'll subtract 11. So that leaves me with 2x equals -2. And what do you do last? That 2, x equals -1. Am I done? Can I go on to number 4? No, I have to check it. You have to check these. All right, you have to check it. So I'm going to go back to the original equation, square root 2. Instead of x, I'm going to put a -1 plus 11 minus 3. I'm going to type all that in my calculator. Square root 2 parentheses -1 plus 11. And then make sure you close your parentheses and then -3. Do you get 0? Is that where we're trying to get it to equal? Go back to the original. We're trying to get it to equal 0. So that one is a check, or you can circle it, but somehow let me know that you got it. Okay? Anybody else? Okay, number 4. Anybody have an idea on what we should do first? Move the x. Okay, move the x. It's -x. So when it crosses the line, it becomes plus x. Okay, so we're left with square root 3x plus 7 equals, I'm going to write it as x plus 3. Doesn't really matter what order you write it in. Okay. All right, somebody who hasn't answered today, what do you do to both sides? Very good. Square both sides. All right, this is one of those nasty ones because what do I have to do with x plus 3? Write it twice and then foil or box. Foil or box. All right. X squared, 3x, 3x, and 9. Do y'all agree with that? Okay. Okay, so over here I'm going to write x squared. Very good, plus 6x. All right, we got that, guys. We got that. We added 3x and 3x. That's where we got 6x from. Plus 9. Okay? All right. This is one of those crazy ones. What do we do next? Move the 3x and the 7. Anytime you have an x squared and an x, that's when you have to move everything to one side. When you have an x squared and an x. Okay? All right. So when I move 3x, I have to subtract it. And when I move the 7, I have to subtract it. So I'm left with x squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay? All right, you're welcome to do the A, B, C and do your formula, but these will also factor x and x. What multiplies to give you 2? 2 and 1, does that equal 3? All right, that equals 3. So plus 2 plus 1. Okay? All right, then what do you do with each parenthesis? Set them equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. So when you move positive 2 over to the 0, it becomes negative 2. When you move positive 1 over with the 0, it becomes negative 1. Okay? All right. When I check my answer, you're only checking one answer at a time. So let me plug in negative 2 everywhere I see an x into the original equation. So square root 3, what am I putting instead of x? Negative 2 plus 7. And then it was minus, and I see another x, I'm going to put in negative 2. Okay? All right, so I'm going to type that in my calculator exactly like that. Square root 3 parentheses negative 2 plus 7 and then minus negative 2. All right. When you hit enter, it gives me 3. Was that what it was supposed to equal? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to circle that. You can put a check. Guys, let's use a shortcut on our calculator. Let's hit second enter. Let's hit second enter. And everywhere I see a negative 2, I need to change it to a negative 1. So I'm going to just go over, make that a negative 1, and make this a negative 1. Does that one also equal 3? Yes, that rarely happens that they both work. Okay. Okay, number 5. Number 5. I got a square root on both sides. What do you think I could do to both sides? Square it, okay? Make my life a lot easier. Square both sides, and what will happen to both square roots? They cancel. So I'm left with x squared minus 2 equals x plus 4. So the square roots will cancel out because there's one on each side. How many x's do I have? 2. So I have to move everything to one side. And I always move wherever the x squared is. I kind of think about that as my magnet. It pulls everything towards it. The x squared is the popular kid. Everybody goes towards it. Okay. All right. Your x, when it crosses the line, becomes negative x. And when 4 crosses, it becomes negative 4. And you've got to put it with the negative 2. What's negative 2 minus 4? Negative 6. Okay. All right, you could do ABC or you can factor it. All right, this time I have a negative 6. What are some things that multiply to give me negative 6? All right, I heard negative 2 and 3. What does negative 2 plus 3 give you when you add it? Gives you positive 1. What kind of 1 is this? This is a negative 1 in the middle. So what could I do here? So positive 2 and negative 3. So I write that as x plus 2 and x minus 3. Okay. Guys, if you want to show your work, you're welcome to. X plus 2 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, but I'm going to take a shortcut. What do you know x is going to be? Negative 2. What do you know x is going to be here? Positive 3. Okay, if you want to go through the steps, you're welcome to. Okay. All right, so let's check it. So go ahead and get your calculators. Type it in with me. Type it in with me. Square root. What am I putting instead of an x?
3.
Let's check negative 2 first. So let's do parentheses negative 2. Parentheses negative 2, because it's negative. Got to put parentheses around it. And then we square that. What else do you have to do in the original? Minus 2. Press enter. And then now let's do the other side. So let's put another square root in. So I'm typing in the other side now. I'm still plugging in negative 2 for x. I'm still plugging in negative 2, but I have to add 4. Do these match? They match. Okay? So x, negative 2, that one gets a check. All right, so now let me check the other one. Square root. This time I'm plugging in 3. 3 squared minus 2. And then 3 plus 4. Do those both work? Or sorry, did I get the same thing? Yes. So both of those work. Okay. All right, flip it over. We're not going to do all of these. We do need to do number 6 for sure. What's different about number 6? Cube root. How are you going to get rid of a cube root? Very good. You got to cube both sides. All right. You have to cube both sides. You got to cube both sides. So the cube root and the cube do what with each other? Cancel out. So x squared plus 7x. 2 to the third, you may type it in your calculator.
8.
Gives you 8. Okay. All right, I have a x squared and an x, which means I need to get everything on one side. So it's going to be x squared plus 7x. What? Minus 8. Good. Minus 8. X and x. All right, somebody who has an answer today, give me 2 things that multiply to give me negative 8. Negative 1 and 8. What do you get when you add that?
7.
Positive 7. Is that what we want? So minus 1 plus 8. Okay, let's try it again. Somebody who hasn't answered.
It's x. Oh.
What is x minus 1 going to give you when he set it equal to 0?
1.
Good. Positive 1. What is this one going to give you? Negative 8. Okay. All right. I know it's annoying, but you have to do it. So square root. Or no, it's not a square root. It is a cube root. I'm going to show you. 1 squared plus 7 times 1. Okay, so you hit the math button. Hit the math button. Everybody do it, please. Hit the math button. And you go down to number 4. Go down to number 4. So 1 squared plus 7 times 1. Is that what we were looking for? 2. Okay. Then hit second enter. That's your shortcut. Second enter. Go over and change the 1 to a negative 8. Uh-huh.
Me too. And I thought I was tripping, but my calculator didn't hit.
And then the last one, I think it said non-real.
Oh, okay. So, on the TI-83s, if you hit the math button and you go down to number 4, you have to add another parenthesis for it to give you the right answer. So 1 squared plus 7 times 1. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember from Math 1 or not, but you have to put a double parenthesis on the TI-83s. Okay. All right. So both of those work. Okay. Let's skip number 7. Let's skip number 7. Let's go to number 8. What do I need to do first on number 8? I have to move the 2. I have to move the 2 first. You have to get this by itself first. So move the 2. So subtract 2, which gives you 6. Then how do you get rid of the square root? Square both sides. And then all you have to do last on this one is what? What do you have to do last? Add 3. So x is 39. All right, and real quick, you can watch up here if you want. Square root, what am I putting in for x? 39 minus 3, and then plus 2. It does give you 8. Okay. All right, number 9. Number 9. What am I doing on number 9? Miss Lars, we get the door. Number 9, what do I do to both sides? Square it. Okay, and so this gives me 2x plus 2. What do I have to do with this? Yep. All right, guys, for the sake of time and your mental health, I'm going to go ahead and tell you you're going to get x squared minus 6x plus 9. All right, when you do the box, you're going to get x squared minus 6x plus 9. But you're right, you would need to do the box. Okay? All right, what would you do next? Good. You move everything to one side. All right, so that'd be minus 2x and minus 2. That gives you x squared minus 8x plus 7. All right, what multiplies give you 7? Good. What happens when you add 7 and 1? You get positive 8, and I need it to be... Make them both negative. Good. Make them both negative, and that will add to give you negative 8. So negative 7, negative 1. So that's going to be 7 and 1. Okay, so square root, let's check this 7 first. 2 times 7 plus 2. And we need that to equal what? What do we need that to equal? What do I put back in for x over here? 7 minus 3, which is 4, okay? So square root 2 times 7 plus 2. All right, so this is 4, and what's 7 minus 3? 4. Okay, so that one works. All right, second enter, change the 7 to a 1. All right, when you change the 7 to a 1, it equals 2. And then what should this be? This would be, what am I plugging in for x? 1 minus 3. What's 1 minus 3? -2. So does this one work? This one's called an extraneous solution. Okay? All right, guys, last one, number 10. It won't take too long. Number 10, what kind of root do you have? The fourth root. How are you going to get rid of the fourth root? Raise it to the power of 4. Raise it to the power of 4. Raise it to the power of 4. So those cancel. 2 to the 4th is 16. Okay? All right, how many x's are on this one? Just 1. You can get it by itself. So minus 4, which gives you 12. And then what do you do to both sides? Square root it. Okay? Is 12 perfect? Break it down. 12 breaks down to 4 and 3, and 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. So it's going to be 2 goes on the outside and 3 goes on the inside.